The crystal champagne flute trembled in my hand as Victoria's perfectly manicured fingers tapped the microphone. My mother-in-law's signature red lips curved into what others might mistake for a warm smile, but I knew better. 3 years of marriage into the Kent family had taught me to recognize the predatory gleam in her eyes. I'm Camilla, and this is how I learned that sometimes the most dangerous wolves come dressed in Chanel. Darling, you seem tense, my husband Justin whispered, his hand settling on my lower back. The gesture that once brought comfort now felt like a brand of ownership. Your mother's been hinting at some big announcement for weeks, I replied, forcing myself to maintain my composure. The ballroom of the Riverside Hotel sparkled with chandeliers and old money, a world away from the small apartment above my mom's flower shop where I grew up. Victoria's voice cut through the murmur of conversation. Before we begin tonight's charity auction, I'd like to thank everyone for supporting the Kent Foundation's annual gala. I watched her command the room with practiced ease, her silver hair styled immaculately, her posture screaming old money and power. The same posture she maintained while telling me, on my wedding day, that a girl from my background would never truly belong. Camilla! A warm hand touched my arm. I turned to find Kiara, my best friend, and only real ally in this glittering shark tank, offering me a concerned look. You're doing it again. That thing where you forget to breathe. I forced a laugh. Just wondering what Victoria's planning. She's been especially nice lately. When Victoria's nice, that's when you should worry most, Kiara muttered. As if on cue, Victoria's voice grew honeyed. And of course, special thanks to my beloved daughter-in-law, Camilla, for her unique contributions to our community outreach programs. The pause before unique wasn't lost on anyone. Several society wives exchanged knowing looks. Speaking of community outreach, Victoria continued, I've recently had some fascinating conversations with Luke about our financial strategies. I noticed Luke, Victoria's financial advisor, shift uncomfortably at his table. Beside him sat Serena, Justin's ex-girlfriend, who caught my eye with an unreadable expression. Everything okay? Justin asked, but his attention was already drifting to his phone. Fine, I lied, watching Victoria work the room. I think I need some air. I slipped away from the table, making my way toward the terrace. Behind me, I heard Victoria's voice growing more animated as she discussed the Foundation's achievements. The cool night air helped clear my head, but the quiet was short-lived. Hiding from my mother again? Justin's voice carried a hint of accusation. I needed a break from the performance, I replied, turning to face him. Don't you ever get tired of it? Oh, it's not a performance, Camilla. This is our life. The sooner you accept that, the easier things will be. Easier for whom? I challenged. Your mother's been planning something. I can feel it. Justin's phone buzzed again. He glanced at it, his face tightening. You're being paranoid. Mother's just doing what she does best, running the foundation. Like those late-night meetings with Luke? I pressed. The whispered conversations that stop when I enter the room? Don't start, Justin warned, his charm slipping. Mother's right. You need to learn your place in this family. Before I could respond, Kura appeared at the terrace doors. You both need to come back in. Victoria's about to make some announcement. Justin straightened his tie and offered his arm mechanically. The perfect son, the perfect husband, at least for the cameras. As we re-entered the ballroom, I caught Serena watching us, her expression now clearly troubled. She quickly looked away when our eyes met, but not before I saw something like guilt flash across her face. Victoria stood at the podium, practically glowing with anticipation. And now, my dear friends, I have a very special announcement to make, one that will shape the future of both the Kent Foundation and our family. My stomach dropped as her gaze fixed on me, that familiar predatory smile widening. Mother, Justin muttered under his breath. What are you doing? But Victoria was already speaking again, her voice carrying to every corner of the silent room. As you know, family legacy is everything to the Kents, which is why it pains me to address certain concerns that have recently come to light. The crystal flute in my hand shook so badly I had to set it down. Beside me, Justin had gone very still. "Camilla!" Kiara whispered urgently. "Whatever happens, remember you're stronger than they think." Victoria's next words confirmed my worst fears. Sometimes we must make difficult decisions to protect what we've built, and sometimes we must recognize when certain connections have become disadvantageous. The room held its breath, and I knew, with crushing certainty, that my world was about to shatter. Victoria had finally decided it was time to show me exactly what happened to those who dared to marry into the Kent family without her blessing. But she had no idea what I knew about her own carefully hidden secrets. The morning after Victoria's thinly veiled threat, I sat in my favorite coffee shop, far from the Kent mansion's suffocating opulence. My phone buzzed for the 10th time. Justin, again. I let it ring. "You look like you could use something stronger than coffee," Kira said, sliding into the seat across from me. Her usually bright face was creased with worry. "Ha! I can't believe I didn't see it coming," I said, pushing my untouched latte away. All those whispered conversations, the way Luke kept avoiding eye contact at board meetings. "Speaking of Luke," Kira leaned forward, lowering her voice. "I did some digging. The Foundation's quarterly reports don't add up. There are these weird transfers." My phone buzzed again, this time with a text. Not Justin, but Serena. "Need to talk. Important. Meet me at Riverside Park?" "Serena!" Kara raised an eyebrow. "Justin's ex wants to meet? That's not suspicious at all." "Maybe she knows something," I said, already gathering my things. "She's been acting strange lately." "Be careful," Kara warned. "Remember whose side she was on before." The park was quiet for a weekday morning. Serena sat on a bench overlooking the river, her designer outfit a stark contrast to the joggers and dog walkers around us. "Thanks for coming," she said, not quite meeting my eyes. "I've been trying to work up the courage to do this for weeks." "Do what?" She pulled out her phone, hands shaking slightly. "You need to see these messages, between Justin and Victoria." My heart pounded as I scrolled through the screenshots. Discussion of bank accounts, offshore transfers, something about Luke's special arrangements. "Why are you showing me this?" I asked, my voice barely steady. "Because I was part of it," Serena admitted. "Justin and we never really ended things. Victoria knew. She used it to keep me quiet about the Foundation's finances. The betrayal felt like a physical blow, but somehow I'd known. All those business dinners, those late meetings. How long?" "Camilla, How? Long." "The whole time," she whispered. "But that's not why I'm here. Victoria's planning something big. Luke's been moving money around and—" My phone rang again. "Justin." "Answer it," Serena urged. "Act normal. They can't know we talked." I took a deep breath and picked up. "Hello?" "Where are you?" Justin demanded. "Mother's called an emergency board meeting. You need to be here." "I'm having coffee with Kira." "Well, wrap it up. And wear something appropriate. The Times is sending a photographer." The line went dead. "Go," Serena said. "But watch Victoria carefully. She always announces bad news when there's press around. Makes it harder for people to react honestly." An hour later, I walked into the Kent Foundation's gleaming boardroom. Victoria sat at the head of the table, Luke hovering behind her like a well-dressed shadow. "Darling, there you are," Victoria smiled. "We were just discussing the Foundation's new direction." "New direction?" I took my seat, noting how Justin wouldn't look at me. "Yes. Well," Victoria's smile sharpened, "given recent developments, we feel it's time for some changes." "Luke, the documents?" Luke distributed folders with trembling hands. One glance at the contents made my blood run cold. "You're removing me from the board?" I kept my voice level, remembering Serena's warning about the photographer in the corner. "It's nothing personal," Victoria said smoothly. "We simply feel your expertise might be better suited elsewhere." "My expertise," I repeated. You mean my connections to actual charitable organizations? The ones doing real work instead of laundering money? The room went deadly quiet. Luke's face went pale. I beg your pardon? Victoria's voice could have frozen hell. Camilla, Justin warned, finally looking at me. Think carefully about what you're saying. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. The transfers. Check the dates against Victoria's private calendar. I think, I said slowly, pulling out my tablet, we should discuss the Foundation's actual finances, starting with these interesting transfers to accounts in the Cayman Islands. Victoria's composure slipped for just a second. I'm sure I don't know what you're talking about. No? I turned my tablet around, showing a spreadsheet Kira had compiled. What about the meetings with Luke every third Thursday? The ones that coincide perfectly with these mysterious withdrawals? The photographer's camera clicked rapidly. This meeting is adjourned, Victoria announced, standing abruptly. And Camilla, dear, expect to hear from our lawyers. As the room cleared, Justin grabbed my arm. What the hell do you think you're doing? I pulled free. Ask your mother, or better yet, ask Serena. His face went slack with shock, and I knew I'd scored a direct hit. My phone buzzed again. Ciara. Got the documents you asked for. You won't believe what I found. I walked out of the boardroom with my head high, Victoria's furious gaze burning into my back. She thought she was about to destroy me, but she had no idea. The real war was just beginning. Holy shit, Ciara whispered, spreading the documents across my kitchen table. Look at these donation records. The numbers don't match what's being reported to the IRS. I leaned over her shoulder, scanning the papers. And these signatures, they're from companies that don't even exist. Shell corporations. Serena's voice came from my laptop screen, where she was joining us via video call. Victoria's been using them to funnel money through the Foundation for years. The sound of a key in the front door made us freeze. Justin walked in, stopping short at the sight of the papers scattered everywhere. What is this? He demanded, his usual polish cracking. Your mother's crime scene, I replied, standing my ground. Want to explain why the Foundation's supposedly funding medical research in companies that don't exist? You're in over your head, Camilla. He moved closer, trying to intimidate me with his height. Drop this now, while you still can. Kira stepped between us. Back off, Justin. We have copies of everything. His laugh was hollow. And who's going to believe you? The gold digger who married into money? The secretary? He glanced at the laptop screen. The bitter ex-girlfriend? Maybe they'll believe the FBI, I said quietly. Justin's face went white. You didn't. Not yet, but I will, unless you start talking. Now. He sank into a chair, suddenly looking much older than his 32 years. You don't understand. Mother, she has everything planned, always has. Including our marriage? The question had been burning inside me for months. She needed someone presentable, someone with actual charitable connections to make the Foundation look legitimate. He wouldn't meet my eyes. Your mother's flower shop, your volunteer work, it was perfect. The truth hurt worse than I'd expected. And Serena? Insurance, Serena cut in from the laptop. Victoria kept me close to keep me quiet. I'm not proud of it. Suddenly, my phone lit up with a text from Luke. Victoria knows, get out now! As if on cue, car doors slammed outside. Quick, through the back! Kira grabbed the documents, while I snatched my laptop. Justin! Victoria's voice carried through the front door. Open up, darling! We slipped out the back just as the front door opened. From the alley, we could hear Victoria's voice rising in anger. Where is she, and what are these papers? Nothing, Mother. Just some Foundation work. A sharp crack echoed. The sound of a slap. Don't lie to me. I taught you better than that. Kira pulled me toward her car. Come on, we need to move. We drove in tense silence until we were safely across town. Kira parked behind her apartment building, killing the engine. What now? She asked. My phone buzzed. Luke again. Meeting Victoria at office tonight. 8 p.m. Back entrance, bringing proof of everything. Now, I said, we set a trap. At 7:45 p.m., I stood in the shadows of the Kent Foundation building's back entrance. Kara was parked around the corner, ready for a quick getaway. Serena had positioned herself in a cafe across the street, watching for Victoria. Luke arrived first, clutching a briefcase. "Camilla, are you sure about this?" "Show me what you brought." He opened the briefcase with shaking hands. Inside were hard drives, documents, and a small recording device. Everything from the past 5 years, he said. The real numbers, the shell companies, the offshore accounts, even recordings of Victoria's meetings. "Why are you doing this?" "Because she's going to pin everything on me," he said bitterly. "I heard her on the phone with her lawyers. I'm the fall guy." Footsteps echoed in the alley. Victoria appeared, elegant as ever, in her designer suit. "Well," she smiled coldly, "isn't this cozy?" "Victoria," Luke stepped forward. "I can explain." "Save it!" She pulled out her phone. "Justin, darling? Yes, they're both here. Send them in." 2 large men emerged from the shadows. "What's this?" I demanded, backing away. "Insurance adjusters," Victoria said smoothly. "Here to investigate a tragic break-in. It seems some desperate people tried to steal Foundation documents. Things got messy." The men moved closer. "It's over, Victoria," I said, fighting to keep my voice steady. "We have copies of everything." "Do you?" Her smile widened. "Check your friend's car, the one parked around the corner?" My blood ran cold. "Amazing what people will do for money," Victoria continued. "Even best friends." But then Kara's voice rang out. "You mean like this?" She stepped into view, phone held high, recording everything. Behind her, red and blue lights began flashing. Victoria's composure finally cracked. "What have you done?" "The thing about growing up without money," I said, watching the police cars pull up, "is you learn who your real friends are, and you learn to plan for betrayal." As the officers approached, I saw Justin watching from the building's doorway. Our eyes met, and for the first time, I felt nothing but pity. Victoria's carefully constructed world was about to crumble, and she never saw it coming. The annual charity gala buzzed with nervous energy. Despite the police investigation, Victoria had insisted the show must go on. "Appearances," she'd said, straightening her designer dress in front of cameras earlier that day, "are everything." "Ready?" Kara squeezed my hand as we entered the ballroom. "As I'll ever be." I smoothed down my red dress, the same shade as Victoria's signature lipstick. A deliberate choice. Whispers followed us across the room. Everyone had seen the headlines. Kent Foundation under investigation. But Victoria's influence ran deep, and the elite crowd still orbited around her like anxious satellites. "Darling," Victoria's voice carried across the room. "So brave of you to show up." She air-kissed my cheeks, her grip on my arm painful. "Though perhaps you should have dressed more, appropriately for someone in your position." "And what position is that, Victoria?" "Soon-to-be ex-daughter-in-law, of course." Her smile never wavered. "But let's save that announcement for later, shall we?" Before I could respond, Justin appeared. "Mother, the reporters are asking for a statement." "Of course they are." She turned away, then paused. "Oh, and Camilla, do try not to make a scene. The cameras are watching." I watched her glide away, Justin in tow like a well-trained puppy. "I'm going to check the audio setup," Chiara murmured, slipping away through the crowd. "Quite the turnout." Serena appeared beside me, champagne in hand. "Victoria's pulled out all the stops." "Including that." I nodded toward a table where Luke sat, looking uncomfortable in his tuxedo. "Keeping him close where she can watch him." "Classic Victoria move." Serena sipped her champagne. "She's got something planned. That smile of hers is too sharp." The lights dimmed slightly, and Victoria took the stage. The crowd fell silent. "My dear friends," she began, "we've gathered here tonight not just to raise money for our wonderful causes, but to address some unfortunate rumors." My phone buzzed, a text from Chiara. "Ready when you are." The Kent Foundation has always stood for integrity, Victoria continued, which is why it pains me to announce that we've discovered certain irregularities perpetrated by those we trusted most. Her gaze fixed on me. It seems some people will do anything for money, even marry into respectable families with ulterior motives. The crowd murmured. I felt dozens of eyes turn my way. Mother, Justin stepped forward, but Victoria waved him off. The evidence is quite clear, which is why, tonight, I'm announcing not only my son's divorce, but also legal action against— Play it, I texted Sierra. Victoria's voice suddenly filled the room, but not from the microphone. It came from the ballroom's speakers, crystal clear and damning. The money goes through Luke's accounts first, Victoria's recorded voice said. Then offshore. The foundation never sees it. Justin knows what to do with the paperwork. The crowd gasped. Victoria froze mid-sentence. That's not, she started, but another recording cut her off. Keep Serena close, Victoria's voice continued. She's insurance, and find me someone suitable for Justin to marry. Someone with charitable connections. Make it look good. I walked toward the stage, my heels clicking against the marble floor. Would you like to finish your announcement, Victoria? Security, she snapped, but no one moved. They're busy, Serena called out. Something about cooperating with federal agents? Victoria's composure cracked. You ungrateful little— What? I reached the stage. Gold digger? Fraud? Careful, Victoria. The reporters you invited are getting all this on camera. I made you, she hissed, quiet enough that only I could hear. You were nothing before the Kent name. No, I took the microphone. You chose me because I was already something. Someone who actually cared about charity work. Someone who could make your foundation look legitimate. Camilla, Justin stepped forward. Don't do this. Do what, Justin? Tell the truth? About the affairs? The embezzlement? Or how about why you really married me? The ballroom was dead silent now. Hundreds of witnesses to the Kent family's unraveling. You have no proof, Victoria said, but her voice shook. Actually, Luke stood up from his table. She does. He pulled out a USB drive. All of it. Every meeting, every transfer, every fake charity. Victoria lunged for the drive, but Serena was faster. She grabbed it and tossed it to a waiting FBI agent by the door. Victoria Kent. The agent stepped forward. We have some questions about your foundation's finances. As Victoria was led away, still protesting about her lawyers, Justin caught my arm. I did love you, he said quietly. In my way. Your way wasn't enough. I pulled free. And neither was your mother's. The crowd parted as I walked out, Chiara and Serena falling in beside me. Behind us, the empire Victoria had built on lies began to crumble. Well, Chiara grinned, I'd say that's a wrap on the last Kent Foundation gala. Not quite, I said, thinking of the documents still to come, the whole truth yet to be revealed. This is just the beginning. The morning after the gala, I sat in the FBI's downtown office, surrounded by boxes of evidence. Agent Taylor spread photos across the table, Victoria at private meetings, Luke carrying suspicious packages, Justin entering offshore banks. Tell us about the Children's Hospital Project, she said, sliding forward a document bearing Victoria's signature. It was supposed to be a new wing, I replied, my throat tight. 5 million in donations. The groundbreaking ceremony was beautiful, but the wing was never built, because the money went here instead. Agent Taylor produced bank statements. To a private account in the Caymans. A knock at the door interrupted us. Another agent entered with a tablet. Ma'am, you need to see this. Victoria's giving a press conference. The tablet showed Victoria outside her mansion, perfectly composed, despite everything. Justin stood beside her, face blank. These allegations are absurd. Victoria's voice rang clear. My daughter-in-law is a troubled woman, desperate to maintain her grip on our family's wealth. The real victim here is my son, who's finally seeing her true colors. Turn it off, I said. but Victoria's next words froze me. In fact, I have proof that Camilla herself was embezzling funds, working with Luke Burton to. The feed cut off as my phone exploded with notifications. Kira's name flashed first. SOS. Victoria's trying to flip the script. Luke's gone missing. We need to move fast, Agent Taylor said, gathering papers, before she destroys more evidence. Wait. I pulled out my phone, showing her the text thread with Luke from the night before the gala. There's something else, something bigger. The offshore accounts were just the beginning. Serena's voice came from the doorway. She entered, carrying a laptop. Show them what we found, Camilla. I opened the files we discovered hidden in Luke's backup drive. It wasn't just money laundering. Victoria was using the foundation to hide political bribes. That's why she needed my connections, to make the charitable donations look legitimate. Agent Taylor's eyes widened as she scrolled through the documents. These payments, they match dates of major policy changes, healthcare votes, zoning laws. Victoria didn't just buy influence, Serena added. She bought entire committees. My phone buzzed again. An unknown number. The message made my blood run cold. Back off now, or Justin goes down too. You still care about him, don't you? V. She's threatening Justin? Agent Taylor read over my shoulder. That's her own son. She's desperate, I said. And desperate people make mistakes. As if on cue, the tablet lit up with breaking news. Luke had been found. He was ready to talk. Get your coat. Agent Taylor stood. We need to get his statement before Victoria's lawyers shut him up. The drive to the FBI safe house was tense. Outside, reporters swarmed like hungry wolves, their cameras flashing. Luke sat at a metal table, looking smaller, without his expensive suit. I'm sorry, he said when he saw me. I should have come forward sooner. Tell them what you told me, I said gently, about the real reason Victoria chose me. She needed someone with a clean background in charity work. Luke's voice shook. Someone who could meet with donors, make everything look legitimate. But there was another reason. He pulled out an old photo, me at a volunteer event 5 years ago, standing next to a prominent senator's wife. Victoria had been tracking you for months, he continued. She needed access to certain political circles. Your volunteer work put you in contact with the right people who trusted you. So I wasn't just a cover, I whispered. I was bait. The perfect trap, Luke nodded. Who would suspect the humble flower shop girl? Agent Taylor leaned forward. We need names, Mr. Burton, everyone involved. It's all here. Luke produced a small drive. Every meeting, every bribe, every fake charity, even the recordings of Victoria planning it all. Suddenly, alarms blared through the building. An agent burst in. We've got a situation. Victoria's here, with lawyers and a court order. Too late, I smiled, holding up my phone. The files from Luke's drive were already uploading to secure servers. It's done, Victoria! I called out the last part loudly enough to carry through the door, where I knew she was waiting. The door flew open. Victoria stood there, her perfect mask finally cracking. You stupid girl, she snarled. You have no idea what you've done. Actually, I stood to face her. I know exactly what I've done. I've done what you taught me, Victoria. I played the game better than you. Her face contorted with rage, but before she could speak, Agent Taylor stepped forward with handcuffs. Victoria Kent, you're under arrest for fraud, money laundering, and conspiracy. As they led her away, I caught a glimpse of Justin watching from the hallway. Our eyes met, and for a moment, I saw the man I'd thought I married. Lost, confused, broken. But that wasn't my problem anymore. I had a different mission now, making sure every cent Victoria stole found its way back to the charities she'd betrayed. The game wasn't over, it was just beginning. The headlines screamed across every news channel. Kent Foundation scandal rocks elite society. I watched from my mother's flower shop as reporters swarmed the courthouse where Victoria's bail hearing was taking place. Turn that off, Mom said, arranging roses with practiced care. You've done your part. Let the lawyers handle the rest. The bell above the door chimed. Serena walked in, holding a thick manila envelope. "You need to see this," she said, spreading documents across the counter. "Justin's trying to claim ignorance. His lawyers are painting him as another victim." "Of course they are." I pushed away the papers. "Let him. I'm done with the Kent family drama." "Are you?" Serena raised an eyebrow. "Because Victoria's still pulling strings from jail. Look." She pulled up an email on her phone. The foundation's remaining board members were calling an emergency meeting to salvage what's left of our reputation, according to the message. "They're going to pin everything on Luke," Serena continued. "Make him the scapegoat." My phone buzzed. "Kira, turn on Channel 7 now!" I grabbed the remote. Justin's face filled the screen, standing outside the courthouse. "My mother's actions have shocked and disappointed our entire family," he said, looking appropriately devastated. "But the real victim here is my wife, Camilla. Her trust was betrayed, just like mine." "That lying snake," Mom muttered. "I'm reaching out to Camilla publicly," Justin continued. "Come home. Let's fix this together. The foundation needs your genuine charitable spirit now, more than ever." The bell chimed again. Luke burst in, out of breath. "They're offering me a deal," he gasped. "Full immunity if I testify that you were involved from the beginning." "What?" I stood up so fast I knocked over a vase. "Victoria's lawyers," Luke explained. "They want me to say you knew about the bribes, that you helped coordinate them through your charity contacts." Serena's phone rang. "It's the DA's office. They want to meet." My mother stepped forward, steel in her voice. "Not without me, they don't." An hour later, we sat in the district attorney's office. The DA, a sharp-eyed woman named Rachel, laid out Victoria's strategy. "She's claiming the foundation's legitimate charitable work was your department," Rachel explained, "that you used those connections to facilitate bribes without her knowledge." "That's insane," I protested. "We have Luke's evidence," "which they're claiming was doctored," Rachel cut in. "They have witnesses ready to testify that you threatened Luke, forced him to fabricate evidence." "Witnesses?" Serena asked. "Justin, for one." Rachel's expression was grim. "He's agreed to testify against you. The betrayal shouldn't have hurt, but it did." "What about the recordings?" I demanded. "Inadmissible," Rachel sighed. "The way they were obtained." My phone lit up with a text from an unknown number. "Last chance. Drop the charges, walk away with a generous settlement. V." "She's still trying to buy her way out." I showed Rachel the message. "Classic Victoria," Serena muttered. "Money solves everything." "Not this time." I stood up. "I want to make a statement. Public, live television." "Camilla," Mom warned. "Think carefully." "I am." I turned to Rachel. "Victoria wants to play dirty?" "Fine. But I learned from the best." That evening, I stood before a forest of microphones outside the DA's office. Cameras flashed as I stepped up to speak. "My name is Camilla, and yes, I married into the Kent family. But that's not who I am. I'm the daughter of a florist who taught me that real charity isn't about galas and photo ops. It's about helping people." I pulled out my phone, showing the text from Victoria. "This is how the Kents operate. They think everything has a price, but they forgot something important. Truth matters more than money." Movement caught my eye. Justin appeared at the edge of the crowd, watching. "To those who trusted the Kent Foundation, I'm sorry. The money that should have built hospitals, funded research, helped children, it was stolen. Not by me, not by Luke, but by Victoria Kent and everyone who helped her. Including you, Justin," I added, looking directly at him. "It's time to tell the truth. All of it." The crowd turned to where Justin stood. For a moment, he looked like he might run. Then his shoulders slumped. "She's right," he said, stepping forward. "Mother, she controlled everything, and I let her." Reporters surged forward, but Justin kept talking, his voice carrying over the chaos. "I'll testify," he announced, "about everything. The bribes, the fake charities, all of it." My phone buzzed one last time. "Victoria, you'll regret this." But looking at Justin finally breaking free, at Serena and Luke standing tall despite everything, at my mother's proud smile. I knew Victoria was wrong. The only thing I regretted was not fighting back sooner. No more deals, I texted back. No more secrets. Game over. The courtroom fell silent as Victoria took the stand. Her designer suit and perfect makeup, a stark contrast to her handcuffs. Even facing prison, she managed to look regal. Ms. Kent, the prosecutor began, please explain the $5 million intended for the children's hospital. A simple accounting error, Victoria smiled. One my daughter-in-law would understand, given her involvement. I felt Justin tense beside me in the witness box. We'd been testifying all morning, unraveling years of Victoria's schemes. Your Honor, Victoria's lawyer interrupted, I have evidence that Mrs. Kent Martin actively participated in these transactions. He produced a folder. My heart stopped until I saw Serena's slight nod from the gallery. We'd been expecting this. Proceed, the judge said. Victoria's smile widened as her lawyer displayed documents on the courtroom screen. Emails, apparently from me, discussing suspicious transfers. As you can see, the lawyer continued, Mrs. Kent Martin was fully aware. Objection. The prosecutor stood. Your Honor, we have evidence these emails were fabricated. She nodded to a tech expert, who approached with a laptop. Within minutes, he traced the email's creation to Victoria's personal computer. Victoria's composure cracked just slightly. Would you like to revise your statement? The prosecutor asked. You ungrateful little peasants, Victoria hissed, mask finally slipping. I gave you everything, position, power, purpose. You gave us lies, Justin interrupted, standing. Tell them the truth, Mother, about the bribes, the threats, everything. Sit down, Victoria snapped. You're just like your father, weak. The prosecutor pounced. Speaking of your late husband, let's discuss the insurance policy. Color drained from Victoria's face. What insurance policy? Justin asked. The one your mother collected on 3 years ago, the prosecutor said, after your father's convenient accident. The courtroom erupted. Justin stumbled back like he'd been hit. That's enough! Victoria stood, but the damage was done. During the recess, I found Justin in the hallway, staring out a window. Did you know? He asked without turning. The FBI found it yesterday, I said softly. I'm sorry. All those years. His voice broke. The foundation, the marriages, the schemes. It was all built on my father's death. Kura appeared with coffee and news. Victoria's lawyers are asking for a deal. They know they're losing. No deals, Justin said firmly. Not this time. Back in session, Victoria's facade had completely crumbled. She sat slumped in her chair as witness after witness detailed her crimes. Luke testified about the offshore accounts. Serena revealed the political bribes. Even Victoria's former secretary described years of document shredding and cover-ups. Then came the surprise witness. Please state your name, the prosecutor said. Margaret Wilson, the elderly woman said, former board member of the Kent Foundation. Victoria's head snapped up. Mrs. Wilson, why did you leave the board 3 years ago? Because I discovered something about Thomas Kent's death, she said clearly. Something Victoria didn't want known. The jury leaned forward. Justin gripped my hand. Victoria came to me the day after Thomas died, Margaret continued. Asked me to backdate some documents. Said it was for the foundation's sake. I didn't know then about the insurance policy. And when you found out, she threatened my grandchildren's college funds, said she'd destroy my family's reputation. Margaret's voice hardened. But I kept copies of everything. Victoria lunged to her feet. She's lying. This is all a conspiracy. Sit down, Miss Kent, the judge ordered. As Margaret's testimony continued, I watched Victoria's world collapse. Every carefully constructed lie, every manipulated relationship, every stolen dollar, exposed. The jury took only 2 hours to reach a verdict. Guilty on all counts, the forewoman announced. Victoria stood rigid as the judge detailed her sentence. 20 years. no possibility of early release. As they led her away, she caught my eye. "You'll never be one of us," she spat. "Good," I replied. "I never wanted to be." Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed. Justin stepped up to the microphones. "The Kent Foundation will be dissolved," he announced. "All recovered funds will go to the charities my mother defrauded. As for me," he looked at me, "I have a lot to make up for." "We all do," Serena added, joining us. "Which is why we're starting something new." I nodded. "A real charitable organization. Transparent, honest, actually helping people." Later that night, I sat in my mother's shop, surrounded by flowers and friends. Shiera brought champagne, Luke ordered pizza, and Serena helped my mom arrange bouquets. "To justice," Justin raised his glass. "To truth," Serena added. "To new beginnings," I said, thinking of the real work ahead. My phone buzzed one last time. A message from Victoria's prison account. "You think this is over?" I deleted it without responding. She was right. It wasn't over. The real challenge was just beginning, proving that good could triumph over greed, that truth could overcome power. But this time, I wasn't fighting alone. The new foundation's opening ceremony looked nothing like Victoria's glittering galas. We held it at the community center, where I'd first started volunteering, with folding chairs and homemade refreshments. Ready?" Kira adjusted my simple blazer. No designer labels, no pretense. "Almost." I checked my notes one last time. The presentation had to be perfect. Reporters were waiting, and more importantly, so were the people we actually wanted to help. Justin appeared at my elbow. "The Children's Hospital Board just arrived, and you'll never guess who's with them." I followed his gaze to see Margaret, Victoria's former board member, walking in with a group of doctors. "Didn't expect to see you here," I said as she approached. "Couldn't miss it." She smiled warmly. "Besides, I brought something you should see." She handed me a worn leather portfolio. Inside were photographs, newspaper clippings, and letters, all documenting the Kent Foundation's early days. "Thomas's original vision," Margaret explained, "before Victoria twisted it. He wanted to create real change, not just photo opportunities." Justin's hands shook as he touched his father's handwriting. "I never knew." "Which is why," Margaret continued, "I'm donating my entire settlement from Victoria's case to your new foundation, in Thomas's memory." Before I could respond, Serena rushed over. "They're ready for us." The community center's main room was packed. Unlike Victoria's carefully curated guest lists, this crowd included local teachers, nurses, social workers, people who knew what their communities really needed. I stepped up to the podium, feeling the weight of everything that had led to this moment. "Welcome to the Fresh Start Foundation," I began. "We're not here to impress you with fancy parties or empty promises. We're here to work." Screens behind me displayed our first projects: the completed Children's Hospital wing, scholarship programs, community health initiatives. "Every dollar, every decision, every project will be publicly documented," I continued. "No shell companies, no hidden agendas, no games." "And no Kent family influence," Justin added, joining me at the podium. "Except for this." He unveiled a plaque. "In memory of Thomas Kent, who believed in genuine charity." The audience applauded, but a commotion at the back of the room caught my attention. Luke burst in, waving his phone. "Victoria!" he gasped. "She's giving an interview from prison. It's live." Someone turned on the TV mounted on the wall. Victoria's face filled the screen, prison jumpsuit replacing her designer clothes. "My so-called daughter-in-law," she was saying, "thinks she can erase the Kent legacy, but she forgets who really holds the power in this town." The room tensed, but I felt strangely calm. "She's right," I addressed the crowd. "The Kents did hold power. They bought influence, manipulated charities, destroyed lives, all while pretending to help people." I gestured to our diverse board members: Serena, Luke, community leaders, actual charity workers. But real power? That comes from transparency, from trust, from actually making a difference. My phone buzzed. A message from the DA's office. Victoria's interview backfired. More donors coming forward with evidence of past schemes. Mrs. Kent Martin, a reporter called out, what's your response to Victoria's claims that you're destroying her family's legacy? I'm not destroying anything, I replied. I'm building something new, something real. Justin took the microphone. My mother's legacy was built on lies. But this. He gestured to the room, to the people gathered to make genuine change. This is truth. The ceremony continued with presentations from community leaders, each sharing their visions for collaboration. No fancy speeches, just honest plans for real work. Afterward, as volunteers set up working groups, my mother appeared with fresh flowers for the tables. You know what this reminds me of? She said, arranging daisies. That first charity drive you organized in high school. Small, sincere, actually helpful. Speaking of helpful, Kira called out, the hospital board wants to start planning the next wing. Something about a rehabilitation center? I looked around the busy room. Justin and Serena coordinating with project leaders. Luke explaining transparency protocols to donors. Margaret sharing Thomas's original plans with interested volunteers. My phone buzzed one final time. Victoria again. You'll never succeed without the Kent name. I showed the message to Justin. He laughed and typed a reply. Watch us. Then he deleted his mother's number. Outside, the sun was setting on our first day of real work. No glittering ballrooms, no champagne fountains, no elaborate schemes, just people coming together to create genuine change. Ready to actually make a difference? Kira asked, handing me a stack of project proposals. I thought of Victoria in her prison cell, still clinging to her illusion of power. Then I looked at the room full of people ready to do real work, to create real change. More than ready, I said. Let's get started. This wasn't an ending, it was a beginning, the right kind, built on truth instead of lies, on help instead of harm. And this time, we would do it right.